It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. You are joining us on the Wrestling Inc. podcast after AEW Dynamite all across the Wrestling Inc. platforms here on this channel, whether it be YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, or Facebook. We thank you if you're checking out the audio afterwards. We appreciate you there too. I'm Justin LaBar coming to you live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She is looking like she always does as a Demon Diva, coming to you from Puerto Rico, and he is looking as he always does, counting the three up in Toronto, Canada. Mr. Jimmy Korderas, Demon Diva Issa. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Lisa?
I'm good. I'm great actually. Wardlow won a title, so I'm cloud nine right now.
We will definitely talk about that. And up here in Canada, we had a nice day up here. Not too hot, not too cold. It was just in the wheelhouse. Loved it.
Just in the wheelhouse. Good to hear it. Issa, how's the weather in Puerto Rico? It seems like it's been kind of crazy last few times I talked to you.
It's hot, but right now there's a little bit of a storm outside. So if you hear some lightning, thundering, and all that stuff, that's what's going on outside right now.
Okay. All right, well, stick with us. Don't get knocked off the air or anything. We don't want the storm to be interrupting the podcast. Stay safe with us. I got the chat room already lit up. We love it. Thank you very much. AEW Dynamite tonight from Rochester, New York. We'll get to Dynamite, but as we like to do, let's start it up with some news items that you can read about on WrestlingInc.com. And this one starts with the lady known as Paige, or at least only for a few more hours, or maybe by the time you're listening to this, she's officially not Paige. A longtime veteran WWE. I don't want to say diva because she certainly helped move the industry past that generation, but the women's performer, the NXT women's champion, and of course, she was a Divas champion. Very big deal. Paige penning her goodbye to the WWE Universe in the Players Tribune. Her contract expires as of Thursday, I believe, is what we know. So she is no longer with WWE. And won't read the full thing. You can go check it out for yourself. I'll just read just a little bit of it to kind of give you a feel for it. She talks about how she says, quote, "When I first got to WWE, we weren't very far removed from the time of bra and panty matches. A lot of people still consider the women's match on every show to be the pee break. And I'll always feel such a kinship with the women of my era because we worked so damn hard to prove ourselves, to prove that we couldn't just wrestle, we could wrestle our asses off." She'd go on to talk about, her rise and who she worked with in NXT and WWE. And then she'd talk about her downfall, popping a drug test, a sex tape leaking, her neck injury, and then talking about her return to TV and getting to make her in-ring retirement announcement. So really illustrates her up and down. We talk about Diva. I'll start with the Demon Diva. Issa, your reaction to Paige and she's still technically retired, at least if you consider the character Paige is. Do we see Saraya pop up somewhere else? And what do you make of her legacy that she has thus far in the business?
As far as her popping up somewhere else, as long as it's safe and medically clear to do so, I worry about their well-beings more than I worry about, a ticket sale and seeing her one more time. And she's okay. We've seen so many stories of so many wrestlers who we thought their careers were over being able to make a comeback. So if she can do that, that will be great. As far as her legacy, she marks a time where things really change for women's professional wrestling. And that's going to be something that I'm always thankful for and look up to. It's some of the things that I didn't care for women's wrestling for a very long time, and I feel like her arrival and some of the things that she started doing started creating a buzz that started the women's evolution, whatever they were calling it at that time. And now it is so normal to see the women main event, to see the women put on a 5-star match, to see the women put on a classic. And I personally think that a lot of that is thanks to Paige. So I feel like even if we don't see her in WWE television anymore, she's now gonna be forgotten. There's a movie about her life being made, that you can go and watch, which is a great movie. I actually really enjoyed it. Overall, thank you, Paige, for everything that you did. It's so sad that her career ended at such a young age, that I really do hope that there is some kind of way that she can make a comeback. But regardless, for her to leave such a legacy in such a short period of time, and the things that she had to deal with, it was a rough time, and I'm glad that she was able to overcome all of that and still have her legacy as being a great professional wrestler.
Yeah, Jimmy, I mean, you've been around for a long time. You've seen the best of the best. You've seen middle of the pack, and you've seen some of the not so great. I mean, in her time, she debuts the night after Mania on the main roster. I remember being there in New Orleans and that pop when she beats AJ. She has a huge debut, helps literally transcend the business of women wrestling in WWE. And look, WWE is the leader of the industry, whether people like that or not. That is, that's the business dictates what it is dictated by what they set out to do. Has this incredible debut and rise. Has the rise she does. Has the fall she does, as we mentioned. Deals a lot of adversity, injury, drug tests, sex tape leak, a very public and ugly relationship with Alberto Del Rio. Has a Hollywood, not just a movie, not just like a B-list movie that's getting shopped around a movie fest, a major Hollywood budget that The Rock is executive producer of and cameos in. So I mean, it does all that, and she's not even 30. Jimmy, what else is there to do?
I don't know what you can do to surpass what she has already done. And like Isa and you said, Justin, she did help transcend women's wrestling and change the perception of it, especially as someone who was thrown into gravy bowls, literally during gravy bowl matches. I mean, it was a nice, refreshing change to see someone like Paige. I'm going to call her Paige. Help that transition to women's wrestling, where it was looked upon kind of like, and I hate to go back this far because I did get to work with people like the Fabulous Moolah and stuff like that. So and Velvet McIntyre and those that ilk, you know what I mean? So seeing her flourish and succeed in what she did, it was nice and it was refreshing. And the other refreshing thing is the fact that she's not re-signing with WWE, but she's not going out and doing this public finger pointing and all that stuff. It's a bit of a thank you letter as well to WWE for allowing her to live her dream. And that is a nice, refreshing change too. So whatever she decides to do, like Isa said, I hope she does it safely. The health and welfare of her is first and foremost. So if she is okay to get back in the ring somewhere else, all I care about is her safety more than anything. But thank you, Paige. Thank you for being professional. Thank you for being a trendsetter and helping transition the women's division the way you did.
Yeah, and again, you can go read the full thing. It's written at the Players Tribune. We have a few more excerpts from it on Wrestling Inc. But yeah, she is very, very thankful and appreciative. Names a lot of women. Names Triple H and Stephanie and some other coaches. Very, and even notes that WWE continued to have her under contract and pay her for a lot longer than what they probably really needed to, in the sense of she just hasn't been doing anything for them anymore. So that's really good on her that they if they had the good favor to continue to pay her and let her contract run out, that she have at least like you said, be professional on the way out. If you do have any grudges still with anybody, handle them behind closed doors. I don't know what she does, but I'll say this: all this talk of how much she's done in the last decade, she'd make a fascinating podcast subject. So won't hurt your neck doing that. So just
there you go.
Throwing that out there. I'm sure she's already fielded that request. Super chat from the Tornado Anthony Y. So Isa, is there a storm coming in your area?
It's a storm, not a tornado. I don't think we got tornadoes down here, but I'm pretty sure the threat is still high, Anthony Y.
You know what I saw on TV the other day? I didn't realize they were they're on the fifth one, Sharknado. Talking about tornadoes.
Oh.
You ever see
Fifth
that?
one. I think they made like 10 of them. Yeah, Seth Rollins wasn't one of them. Chris Jericho wasn't one of the Sharknadoes. Come on.
Well,
film.
I saw the very first one. I remember the Cult Classic. The one I watched the other day, I think it was the fifth one. John Morrison had a cameo in it.
Yeah. Sorry, I talked about wheelhouse earlier. When it came to weather, Sharknado's not in my wheelhouse, unfortunately. Yeah.
It's okay, Jim. We'll fill you in later. It's okay.
Okay.
The other story here, a little bit of controversy in the wrestling world as it relates to a startup promotion. So we've been hearing in the news about this Wrestling Entertainment Series, WES for short. Now they're supposed to make their inaugural show debut in June. It got pushed back. It was supposed to be then this Saturday, July 9th. Well, now that's not going to happen. They posted on their Twitter, official Twitter, "Dear fans and followers, unfortunately, we will have to cancel the event scheduled for the Saturday at the Motor Point Arena in Nottingham, England. We are deeply disappointed in the news that we have to share, but with so many talent not showing up, we will have no choice than to cancel the event. Our team worked so hard on this event day in and out for the fans to come with a different type of wrestling event and believe that we will still be able to show that in the near future. We do want to say that all of our talent that was scheduled have been paid in full, and that they refer to her real name, Nia Jax, was paid her deposit as well while she changed her mind and did not want to show up and wrestle anymore. For now, we will have to apologize for this, but we will promise that it will not end here. See you soon. That is met with great response. Nia Jax on Twitter earlier had called out, saying, take my name off this poster. I'm not on this poster. I'm not at the show. Don't buy a ticket expecting to see me. And then after this statement from the wrestling, the WES, a lot of people popping up. Braun Strowman, who's not even on the show, he acknowledged Sean Ross Sapp quote tweeting this, and Braun said straight garbage just to try and blame talent not showing up. I'm not a stooge, but the truth will come out. Y'all are good at finding it. Josh Alexander saying, be better. If you love wrestling, leave it to the pros, or actually do what you say you're going to do. Wrestlers no showing ain't ever going to be a thing. Maybe one or two, but not enough to warrant canceling a show. The former Aiden English says talent not showing up. What a laugh. Chelsea Green fires at it. Lindsay Dorado fires at it. And this, I think, Jimmy, this is the promotion that, look, first off, it's supposed to be at a 10,000 seat arena. They apparently they'd only sold like 350 tickets. So that's a little fishy to have that stacked of a card and that's all that you sold. Mm-hmm. But I think this is the promotion that like is, at least it's being worded, is founded by the former Authors of Pain, that tag team. Now, I don't know if they are the actual money behind it or if they're just the wrestler faces of it and there's a money person behind it, but what a terrible launch off the ground.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great debut, that's for sure. And when you have that many talents that you allegedly had scheduled to appear on your show firing back at you, maybe that's something to take into consideration. I don't want to point a finger of blame because I don't know the behind the scenes and exactly what is going on. But at the same time, where there is smoke, there is fire. And for the former Nia Jax to come out and say, take me off the poster, I'm not, you're booking me and I wasn't, saying what she said. Something just seems off here. And again, startup promotion, allegedly booking a 10,000 seat building and selling only 350 seats. And like you said, Justin, there were some big names on there that it just, something sounds off here. And I'm like, I don't want to be one of the people pointing the finger of blame, but WES kind of sounds like they're trying to protect their own assets right now.
Look, we've done live podcasts and meet and greets here in the podcast world on WrestleMania weekend and such. We could have the three of us booked in England. The fans over there are wonderful. They're always jealous that they have to travel all the way over here to be part of the wrestling culture in America. If the three of us decide to take the Wrestling podcast over there, maybe we throw Raj in the mix, we would sell 350 tickets. So I mean, Issa alone for meet and greet. There has to be some kind of a dipsy do going on here. Am I wrong, Issa?
No, you're not wrong. I feel like this entire company just started on a bad note, right? They put out such an incredible card and then that have to be canceled. I think that was going to be in the Middle East somewhere, the original one. And when you look at the statement they put out today and they're talking about how they pay, formerly known as Nia Jax, her deposit, are we talking about the original date? Because you canceled that date. So why would you think that she's going to be available for whatever date you make up next? I feel like there's been a lot of rumors around this and I had a bad feeling it was going to come down to this. So I hate to say when I saw the tweet today, I wasn't shocked at the least to see that the event was canceled. I wasn't. But when you are a wrestling company, even if the talent did you wrong, I feel like you should handle that privately because talent is what you need to get your company going. So coming at them and attacking them is going to make none of them want to work with you again. What kind of car are you going to put in for your next event, if it even happens? So overall, I feel like there are some things that if you want to be professional in regards to how you handle your business, you should probably stay offline. Just send out a tweet that the event is canceled and stop talking about the talent and talk about how these 300 fans can get their money back. Because to me, that's more important than who's showing up and who isn't.
Yeah, I would I would agree with that. Tornado back at it. Well, Justin, I sent an F5 on Friday. Wink, wink. Yeah, and then back to the topic at hand here as we're looking in the chat. Corey says Issa would draw 5,000 easy. Chris says Alana, aka CJ Perry, Miro's wife, was supposed to be on the card. Interesting.
Yeah, she was fighting Nia Jax on the original show. When they announced the reschedule of it in England, they had already taken CJ Perry off of it. So I don't know if that's when Nia Jax also said she wasn't going to be available, but they did keep advertising her even after she was very open about not being a part of this show.
Rocky saying Issa could sold out any day, anytime worldwide. Tina Miller's backing that up. Issa would sell out the place.
Here you go.
Stephen Camp, no one wants to hang out with a Washington fan. LOL, Jackie Justin, but you do throw some kick-ass parties. Thank you, Stephen. I've been known to have a few bangers.
This is true. I've hung out at some of Justin LaBar's parties, and they are excellent. We should throw one, Justin. Let's do another one, please.
We're long overdue.
Yes.
Raj will draw lesser than Issa. All right, very fun. And Sharknado 2, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, yeah.
Oh, hang on. We got more updates, I think, with the Sharknadoes. Sharknado 3, Chris Jericho, Sharknado 4, Seth Rollins, and finally John. Yeah, I watched 5 the other day. John Morrison.
There you go. Right.
All right. Gotta love the chat helping us out here. All right, let's go ahead and jump into AEW Dynamite tonight, coming to you from Rochester. Of course, Rochester, a very significant place for AEW, as they make mention, and we will put focus on. Rochester was the home of the late Mr. Brody Lee, so certainly an extra feel, if you will, of connection between that Rochester crowd and the AEW Dynamite fans. We kick it off with Wardlow backstage, making his way to the ring. We're kicking it off with a TNT title street fight. Wardlow challenging against the champion Scorpio Sky, who Sky comes out. He has the numbers with American Top Team coming out there with he and Dan Lambert. And initially, obviously we see Wardlow with some power, but then those numbers try to play in. They try to put the boots to Wardlow. But then Wardlow's going to rally. He's going to hit one of the most beautiful swantons I've ever seen him do across the ring onto Scorpio Sky. Again, numbers leading to some distractions. Scorpio Sky uses the belt. We think that they got it all wrapped up. 1, 2. That's not it. False finish, as they'd say, boys and girls. And finally, Wardlow overcomes all that, hits 3 power bombs in the Powerbomb Symphony. And Wardlow at 54-8 is your new, as Howard Finkel would say, TNT champion. Jimmy, the crowd was with it. After that false finish, they were like, we're going to get it. 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 But you also have that in the back of your mind. You have Dan Lambert and company, so you know at any point existing parties out there or somebody new could. So it was this nice little tap dance game of like, can Wardlow, but he's got to deliver the power bombs. Can he deliver them all fast enough before somebody wrecks the party? Even has the one boot on the chest pin. Your thoughts on this title change tonight?
No, I thought it was the right call, and it kind of a little surprised me a little bit. Yes, I know it was a street fight. That false finish got me as well. I thought, okay, here's how they're going to get away with it and keep the title on Scorpio. But hey, I enjoyed the match. A street fight. It made perfect sense. It was a way for Wardlow to look like a monster that he is, and he's already over huge. I mean, throughout the entire match, the crowd was with him. They bought into everything he did, and like you said, that false finish got them. And then when he did when he cleared house and did the 3 power bombs and did the boot on the chest, they got me because I was expecting someone to run in and kind of break things up. And when it didn't happen, I went, oh, nice. Yes. This is how you build this championship. This is how you build this title. And this is how you build Wardlow. And also in a kind of backhanded way, keep him out of the main title picture. Because after building him up so strong, how do you keep him from winning the championship if he were to go after it?
Yeah, I mean, Issa, I think to tail off of Jimmy's point there, I think, the world title picture is very crowded because you have a sitting world champion who's injured. And then you have this busy John Moxley interim world champion. So that's got to sort itself out whenever Punk's ready, just to sort out and claim who's your undisputed world champion. So I agree. I don't know. This might have not been the plan 2-3 months ago, and given how the MJF stuff has happened and whatever. But I think Wardlow having this title now, he could hold it for a year. They can make a thing out of this. He could hold it for a year until, and hopefully the momentum and the lightning in the bottles sustains. And then when the world title picture has a little bit more clarity, allow him to get involved in that. But I know you're a Wardlow fan as well. What was your interpretation, reaction? Were you surprised to this one?
My juices were titillated, Justin LaBar, at this result. I said my juices were titillated.
Juices were titillated.
I loved it.
They were bubbling, huh?
Yes. I will say it was the least street fight of all street fights. I wish they would have just not put the stipulation on it, because there wasn't a lot of street fight elements to it. You could have just made it a regular match with a couple of American Top Team becoming involved, and that would have been fine, because there wasn't a lot of street fight aspect to it. But I don't care. I've been wanting the TNT title to be elevated. I feel like, to Jimmy's point, Wardlow made it a point that he wasn't going to come for the world title until CM Punk was fully healthy, because he wants to beat the real world champion. So I feel like they got away with saying, how are we going to keep Wardlow away from that, by having Wardlow cut that promo. I haven't really been into the TNT title since Miro dropped it. I personally think that Wardlow could be that person that makes it feel important again. Hopefully we're in for a long run, and I'm super happy for him, and he's so over. I love seeing the crowd reaction. Personally, I feel like the show premature ejaculated here, because after that, how are you going to top that moment? Just saying.
Well, I mean, look, obviously he is over like Rover, that being Wardlow. Even to the point, I mean, I remember Scorpio Sky, he was he was outside of the ring steps, fist pounding the team and getting ready to get in the ring. And the crowd was doing the Ward. And I was like, kill Sky's music so we can amp up these chants. Stop having his music try to compete with these. I mean, especially now that we know the outcome. If the outcome is that Wardlow's in fact going to take the title from him, let these chants ride, let the fans that much more going to ride with them. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch. It just doesn't come along every day. A promoter dreams of it, but it doesn't come along every day to have a guy that has as many tools as Wardlow does, that naturally is just getting over, and everything's just kind of clicking, and all the stars are aligning. So I think this could be I think he's going to be champion until he's not, and when he's not, it's because they're ready for him to have a new title. So that would be my prediction.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though, and this is again getting a little nitpicky. I'm very, very pleased with the match and how and the outcome. But did they not distract the referee so that they could do the belt shot?
They did, which the ref was, he was trying to deal with all the numbers game. Which, right? Why?
It's a street fight. All you have to do is a subtle gesture, sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Well, and back to, I was going to say, when Issa was saying it's the least street fight, it was the least street fight, and I just assumed, again, we're just making it street fights, that way we can be as blunt as possible with all of American Top Team getting in there and him clearing house. But you're right, Jimmy, to the logic point, why even waste a ref distraction? And we all know Dynamite has enough ref distractions. We don't need to be wasting scenarios. So very good question. That would be, again, one of those, who was the producer of that match? What was the logic behind doing this?
Exactly.
But don't know. Brett Murphy, mark it down. Wardlow versus Miro at All Out. That would be a hell of a contest.
It would be, but Miro's more. It looks like his path is more towards the babyface side right now. But not that matters really. But still.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna see a Miro feud with the House of Black. He might take each and every one of them out individually, just based on the promo that we saw him cut later on in the show.
And I agree, Jimmy. I think he is heading more towards it. I think people are gravitating towards this Miro Redeemer, and he's this repackage of him. And I'm still gonna wave my it's Lana Day flag. I know she won't be Lana, but I think that she has to be his god. I'm holding on to that, and I think that will get a pop if she shows up with him in the presentation that I think that they would be in. I think the crowd will accept it. So I'm holding on to that. That's my that's my booking hill. I'm going to die on until it happens.
Right.
I'm gonna speak it into reality. It's gonna happen so much. Tony Khan's gonna hear it, and he's just gonna have to do it if he's not already planning to do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. All right, we get now. I want to say this was a very promo heavy night. There was some backstage. I don't really acknowledge many of the backstage pre-tapes unless things move on. Most of the pre-tapes were just pumping up matches that were coming tonight or next week. But there was a lot of in-ring promos as well. It did have a that feel to it. It was not wrestling one after another. And this was one of the most controversial and going to be for a long time discussed in-ring promos as we have Luchasaurus and Christian Cage out there. Christian Cage, quickly, all you people, you think you need to hear the reason of why we're not on Jungle Boy's side anymore. Quickly interrupted by Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy has got a quote of, Christian, you're just the Michael Jordan of being an asshole. That got a pop. But Christian quickly fired back with, you care about Jungle Boy, like you've known him for so long, like you're the big brother to him and all this kind of stuff. He goes, Matt, you're starting to make your brother sound like the sober one.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. He went there.
He went there.
Yes.
Matt fires back. You're taking advantage of Luchasaurus. That's all you're doing is you're taking advantage of Praying. Matt even admits, I did it. I took advantage of Private Party, and it starts naming people, and I'm not proud of it. Talking about his, Butcher and Blade. I'm not proud of it, and maybe that's karma coming back. I mean, that's why I've had such a rough few months here with my family. Again, Christian firing off. Again, you're just delusional. You're always here for your name in the head in the marquee. You'll look past your brother's problems just so you can ride his coattails. More ooh and finally the 2-on-1, the physical, the words escalate to a point to where there's no more words. It just has to be physical. 2-on-1, but it's mostly just Luchasaurus just beating up Matt Hardy and finally choke slamming him through the timekeeper's table. Issa, I know this group, this trio, we've all kind of agreed that in the past, if all parties involved are okay with it, nobody else can be offended. It's just there for the entertainment. It's there to do what we're doing. How did this promo sit with you and this newly heel Christian Cage?
I loved it. If you would have told me that Christian Cage was going to be on like my top 5 favorite wrestlers of the moment, I would have not put it on my bingo card, but he is delivering every week. I mean, there is a part of me, every once in a while I'm human and I'm just tired of Jeff real life issues being brought up just because it just doesn't feel like it should be right. But I especially with what Jeff is currently dealing, but I pop for a lot of the things that Christian said here. He even said that Jeff Hardy took advantage of a lawnmower, and I just die laughing because I remember Broken Matt Hardy riding around the lawnmower. Like it was the dilapidated boat. Yes, I have that t-shirt actually. It was a lot of things that Christian said here, about how he takes advantage of the kids, use them for clout, the wife, the father-in-law. Like there was a lot of things that Christian was saying outside of the obvious Jeff Hardy line that's going to get him heat that makes you want to go, okay, he has some valid points here. In addition to that, I don't know who's arguing that Christian is using Luchasaurus when he clearly said he was using them for money and exposure and all that. So maybe Luchasaurus wants that right now. I'm not too sure. Again, a man that wished a family was dead last week. I'm not surprised that this was brought up. But in the context of Jeff Hardy and everything that he deals with in real life, it's just not tasteful anymore. But he did the job. He got the heat.
Jimmy, I know Matt and Christian or Jay are very close. They've known each other for over 20 years. You've obviously reffed many classics. I have to think that obviously this is a very sensitive time for the Hardy family. That there's probably a short list of other people that Matt and presumably his brother Jeff and probably even Tony Khan, because I have to think they ran it by Tony. Tony will be okay to do this. That would not be able to say this, but for the fact that the real person behind Christian knows Matt and Jeff the way he does, that maybe it was approved. Yeah,
it feels like you read my mind or my notes, because yes, they have a incredible history together. Those guys are tied at the hip. Not only them, Edge, Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys are all kind of interwoven together. So if anybody could get that line out there and it be okay to do, because like Issa said, maybe in today's day and age, it is maybe crossing a line, but if anybody could say it without really crossing that line, especially with the person the line is delivered about, it is Christian about Matt and Jeff, because they are so close, and I'm sure it was okayed by everybody involved. And I got to give them credit for generating heat, real heat, because that is hard to do nowadays. And everybody, instead of people saying, "Oh, he went there. That's so cool. I can't believe he brought it up. He brought up real life." No, people are saying, "I can't believe he brought up real life."
Well, and not just the fact that, because they know Christian for so long that it's okay that he does it, but it's that much more of an effect. Like, for example, if Max Caster comes out later in the night and does a rap and uses Jeff Hardy's problems as a punchline, it gets an ooh reaction, but it also is a little bit like almost cheap in a different way. It's like, well, like almost random, but the fact that everybody knows here's this guy Christian standing across the ring from Matt Hardy and all the history they have, and for him to go there, it's like, oh, it's that much more of like while Jeff's problems are real, it's that there is a certain like continuity to it that like Christian and Matt goes so far back that Christian would be the one that he would take that little deeper jab at Matt, and it has more effect. I almost feel like just because there's history.
Exactly. It felt like it meant more coming from Christian.
Yeah, exactly. Allison Tuckwab in the super chat. Do you think they'll let Jeff Hardy back in AEW because they pulled everything with Jeff Hardy off the shelf? Contract to his brother, apologize for him. Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. He just lets the wrestlers do. Well, Allison, I think Tony's been kind of clear that, Jeff coming back to AEW is very much pending that he gets the help and it completes the help that he needs and it can sustain that healthy lifestyle. Pulling shirts or anything or pulling video or whatever, that's just kind of natural good business. Why are you going to continue to run video clips or whatever of somebody who you don't have on your product and who is maybe might never be back on your product? That's just reality. And this is, while I'll entertain a lot of arguments that AEW might be a little bit loose of a ship in certain areas, and then even areas like Jimmy and I were talking about earlier, like why is there a ref distraction in a street fight? While I think there might be a loose ship at times and he's tightened up, look, Jeff's had his trips, his stammers, his mistakes under Vince McMahon. For me, it's not. This is not. I don't think Tony Khan has any responsibility to Jeff's most recent problem. So most recent issue.
Yeah, and my understanding is he sought out help and he's actually getting it right now. So
yeah, I just hope everything goes well with him. But to your point, Justin, we've seen it happen with WWE, with AEW, with Impact. This isn't a new thing. It's not this company is responsible for these problems. At this point, we need to hold Jeff Hardy accountable for his own actions.
Right.
Tornado says he's coming to All Out in Chi-Town, so watch out, Chicago. Tornado's coming. So yeah, that was certainly a segment that's gonna be a lot. And I'm curious to know where we're going from this. Obviously now, I assume it's Jungle Boy and Matt Hardy as an alliance against Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. I imagine that's where we are headed. Matt obviously known for tag wrestling and needs a charismatic partner with him.
Yeah, but they have got to stop giving Jungle Boy a veteran figure that's like he needs to become Jungle Man already. And giving him this veteran figure that he can stick to is always going to make him look that way.
Well, maybe it's not a tag team. Maybe it's just cornermen. Maybe if Christian and Matt don't want to, maybe they even say, "Look, we don't make us take up time in the match. Let us be cornermen."
But that's what Christian did. Christian cornered him, and he was it looked like he was babysitting him the entire time. I think Jungle Boy could have a run as a singles wrestler and be successful at it. I think maybe we do this while Jungle Boy heals up, but I would love to see Jungle Boy stand on his own.
Interesting.
Agreed.
Interesting. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, where this all heads, but certainly, again, one of the headlines coming out of tonight's Dynamite. Up next, we get the Butcher and the Blade versus Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. A lot of talk here about the tag teams rising up in the tag team division. This is going to end with this starts out kind of clunky. There was it looked clunky, at least. It looked like there was some ill-timed or miscommunicated spots, but they start to get into some rhythm here. Finally, those Swerve in their glory. They're going to hit kind of like a kind of like a doomsday, but rather than a clothesline, it's like shins first onto their opponent. Going to get the win. After that, they're interrupted by a Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, who are just amped up. They're you guys, just because you came from where you came from, referencing WWE, you think that you're owed a certain thing. You're not on our level. Ricky Starks is hot. Ricky Starks proclaiming we're the best tag team. That cues the Young Bucks to come out. Young Bucks saying everybody in the tag division right now is eating well, but let's not forget that we're the ones that set the damn table. Ends up proposing a three-way, a triple or nothing tag team match next week on night one of Fyter Fest. But this entire, what's supposed to be this big moment of a proposal and a pop of a match is completely drowned out by the crowd chanting and demanding FTR to be added into this, to which they weren't. And as the segment ended, when the match and the challenge was made and everybody kind of, it basically accepts, the crowd was just kind of flat or disinterested because it wasn't the match they wanted. I mean, Jimmy, that's how I heard it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it started off a little bit awkward. There was that leapfrog spot that went a little awry and all that sort of stuff. But again, me with my nitpicking of the officiating, I didn't know that before the finish, it turned into a Texas Tornado match where just everybody just goes in the ring and just does whatever they want. But no, you're right, though. The most over tag team right now, I mean, you can make an argument for the Bucks, but FTR is white hot on fire right now. People just love these guys, and deservedly so. These guys, you can make an argument as possibly the best tag team going right now, but at least top 3 in the world right now. And they are really that good, and they're really that good at being heels and baby faces. They can do anything. And not adding them to this match, who knows, maybe before the match occurs next week, it becomes a fatal 4-way as opposed to a 3-way, because Tony Khan claims to listen to his audience. Well, they were clamoring for FTR, so who knows?
Tony, get on Busted Open and make it happen.
There you go.
Issa, what do you think about this?
I personally felt the match was just a setup for the after promo. I love hearing the crowd chant for FTR. FTR has been #1 contenders in the rankings for about 4 months now. But, AEW tends to only acknowledge the rankings when they feel like it. I feel like I noticed something in this match, and it was like I didn't care at all. And I think it was because of the Butcher and the Blade. And I feel like when AEW wants you to be invested in a character, you really become invested. They give them that time for you to get to know these people, but then they put these people with people that you don't necessarily feel invested in, and it can really bring a match down where you're just like, I have literally no interest in this match. I know who's going to win, and I just want to know what's going to happen after. And I felt that way with this match. All the respect to the Butcher and the Blade, but I really felt that way, and we'll talk about it later because I felt the same way later on. I feel like they need to do maybe a
the main event
more. The main event, and no, not even that. The Ass Boys and the Acclaim against, I don't even know who they were. I do know who they were, but you get my point. They need to do a little bit of a better job at developing some of the other characters. That way you can be a little more invested in these matches. But overall, I was just happy to hear the crowd chanting for FTR. At some point, they have to stop denying it and give us that match, but they might be saving it for All Out. So in the meantime, we have to, I hate to say it, we have to let it play out.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if it's a triple. We'll see if it stands come next Wednesday. But the fans certainly felt a little. They had better booking ideas in their minds. And I think they announced later they had the FTR is going to be dealing with the Ring of Honor titles. So I don't, maybe that was the idea, is let's keep their focus over here. I don't know. But part of the risk you run when you got guys starting to wear a lot of titles is who goes where. Right. We get Eddie Kingston in the ring with Tony Schiavone. He says congrats to Wardlow. He says congrats to the winning team at Blood and Guts. He says, Chris Jericho, you made me a liar. I did not get to taste your blood. You did not bleed. And proceeds to say that he's going to fix that. And then Jericho interrupts him. Jericho's back in the parking lot with his boys, including Ty Conti, who she slams the door on Ruby Soho's arm, and then they run off. So we are not done with the business of Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston. Issa, you're shaking your head.
I hated everything about this backstage segment when Jericho popped up. Ruby was literally sitting there with her arms on the truck waiting for the door to be slammed on her. It looked so stupid. I'd rather see Ty Conti have her in like a choker hold and put her to sleep, like, or something like that. It literally looked like she was waiting for the door to be smashed on her hands, and it completely took me out of it. I'm also a little bit over with Jericho and Eddie Kingston, and I get that they're hurting for talent right now, so maybe we gotta rerun a couple of things here and there until some people start feeling better. But I just feel like why would Eddie Kingston care about what happened to Ruby Soho backstage? They never made that connection between them. Also, I personally was laughing at Eddie Kingston making a reference about how he's growing up, and I was like, "You're 40, bro. Like maybe it was about time you started growing up." But overall, it was a horrible setup in the backstage segment. If you go back and watch it, you can literally see her just waiting to get the door smashed on her hands. And like Jimmy, I was nitpicking here, but I was like, that completely took me out of the whole thing. And there's never been a connection between Eddie and Ruby. Why would he care?
Jimmy, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, we've seen Eddie on screen aligned with other people. So, I mean, and I'm sure somebody's going to correct us. Maybe Eddie and Ruby, if we watched a vlog or something else, we missed something. But and to Issa's point about the arm thing, maybe this is where having this, because this thing did look like it was being shot live. Or if it wasn't shot live and it wasn't pre-tape, take advantage of that and do some more camera tricks, to Issa's point. So, but I mean, what do you make of this?
No, she pretty much hit the nail on the head. But the biggest thing for me, other than the fact that it looked like she was waiting for it to happen, again, like Issa said, what is the connection between Eddie Kingston and Ruby Soho? I don't know. Is there one out there? Is there something I'm missing online that I didn't read somewhere on some website or anything like this? Because, sometimes when they book like that, catering to a certain audience that reads the websites, that kind of it gets lost on the others who don't pay attention to that deep inside stuff. Is there a connection between Eddie and Ruby? I don't know.
Well, I don't think there's I don't know so much about a connection of Ruby, remember when Ty Conti hit Aubrey at Blood and Guts, stole the key, and then Ruby came down and cut her off. So I get that there's animosity there between Ruby and Ty, but to your point, like Eddie and Ruby haven't had like this big again, at least not on Dynamite. But I don't want to hear about on this vlog they did this on this. No. Stick to Dynamite because there are people that are watching Dynamite that only watch Dynamite, and so that's where the disconnect probably.
Especially when you got your ratings back up, you got back to 1 million last week. And you're going to get these people to tune in again and feel completely lost about what was going on here. I'm sorry, not everybody's watching these YouTube shows, YouTube blogs, or whatever. Show a clip of it. Like, the only connection that we have is Ruby Soho in a video package for Blood and Guts. That's it. And if she has, a feud going with Ty Conti, that doesn't have anything to do with Jericho and Eddie Kingston here. So it felt very all over the place.
Right. And if there is a connection, that's the announcer's job now, is to make that connection for the audience, because you can't assume that everybody watching and everybody in live there in the arena knows that connection, whatever it may be, if there is one.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know that it looks more brutal that they're taking advantage. Obviously tied, a woman did it to a woman, but there's all these men standing around helping facilitate. So I get that doing to a woman, it makes it more dastardly and what have you. But like, who is it? Santana's the one who's legit injured. So you still have Ortiz. Santana and Ortiz have been obviously very, boldly linked to Kingston. I would have understood if they slammed Ortiz's arm in the door. That that's somebody who's like one of Eddie's friends. But yeah, so some are going to say we're nitpicking. Some are going to say that we're pointing out the obvious. That's the beautiful thing of this. Everybody's got their opinions, but that's where we all kind of stand with that. Leonzo Duncan super chat. I'm not one of these people or those people who say this, but if someone in WWE said what Christian said about Jeff Hardy, they would complain how insensitive WWE is. Just saying. There's a little bit of fairness to that, because AEW being the alternative and being a little bit more underground, a little more, they curse a little bit more. There's just that lane that's kind of allowed. Whereas if WWE would be perceived as the big bad corporate company that's laying people off every 90 days, that they're being ill-sensitive.
There's also a difference in how AEW incorporate realness into a storyline to like the way that Christian did it tonight compared to, let's talk about Jeff Hardy's last feud where he was brought up in WWE, which was Sheamus, and they made him take a piss test in the middle of the ring, and it's just it also can be a little extra about how you go about it, and I agree. But I do remember seeing a lot of backlash on WWE when he was having that feud with Sheamus. They ended up having a bar match, which, by the way, he slapped. I don't care what anybody says. I love that match. But I remember him having to do a pee test like in the middle of the ring and all of that, and that is just way you're now exploiting it way too much. Where I'm not saying it was tasteful the way that Christian did it either, but it's brought up in a promo in a very realistic way, and when you're arguing with someone, a lot of times you're going to use your words to try to say the most hurtful things to them, and that way you get to their, you play those mind games. So it's two different ways to do the thing. Overall, I don't like it when either one company does it, just because in this specific, I told you last week I loved everything that Christian did, but I'm not being a hypocrite. I feel like with what Jeff Hardy's going through right now, it just doesn't feel right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. But again, like the thing about it is, again, in true heel fashion, the one thing that Christian isn't is subtle in his delivery. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Listen, Christian is making me, I still miss MJF every week. But if I'm going to get Christian coming out here cutting these promos, at least I'm still getting that heel saying things that they probably shouldn't say on TV. So I appreciate that.
I always want to acknowledge our super chats. Allison, I want to give you a shout out for the super chats. Thank you again for the financial donation to the podcast. I'm reading. I don't get it. I'm sorry what you're saying here. BC Amplified, that weird name that he's the one. He has a talk show. He says he doesn't need to go to jail. He could have killed someone or himself. I know you were talking about Jeff Hardy earlier. I'm not sure who you're, but again, thanks for the shout, but can't really comment on the chat. Not sure what you're talking about there. All right, jumping back into Dynamite. So we'll see what happens out of Kingston, Ruby Soho, and the problems still going on there. Up next, we get the Dark Order. They're in the ring. It is Dark Order country, as they note. 5 of them standing there with -1. Of course, the late Mr. Brody Lee's oldest son. He's in his -1 mask. Pretty cool. They say that they're here to stay. There's going to be a new chapter of the Dark Order. Then they're interrupted by QT Marshall, who starts to run down -1. And again, not going as far as Christian did, but hitting some pretty spicy quotes, running down him. QT Marshall does at least draw the link that, hey, your dad beat me in his debut in less than 5 minutes. And so that was a nice little reminder of history there. Then Hangman Page, he comes out, has heard enough of QT Marshall, and Hangman Page and the rest of Dark Order proceeds to hit some finishes on QT, and then -1 saying he's going to wait till he's 18 until he gets the pin on QT. I mean, overall, just kind of a tribute to Brody, just kind of a little good feel kind of segment here. Nothing really that's going to necessarily progress to next week, right, Jimmy?
No, absolutely. It was a nice little feel good moment in the hometown for Brody's oldest son, and it was a nice little tribute for him to and it was a nice little feel good moment. Is exactly what it was, and I who knows? Maybe when he does turn 18, we may see him. You never know.
Long-term booking. I love that -1 can cut a promo better than half of the roster, and and to that point, I did love seeing Hangman come out to do the save. A lot of the reason why a lot of us were invested in Hangman finally winning the title was because of his time with the Dark Order. So it was fun to see Hangman reunite and come back and make the save for his buddy. So for nostalgia, and for those of us who watch BTE, it was nice.
Issa Corey Pride super chat says, why is Dark Order still a thing? TK, please move on. Do you agree? Has Dark Order ran its course?
I don't think they've run their course. I think they just need a little bit of a left turn, right turn, whatever the case may be. They just need a little different direction to go in. What that direction is, I can't put my thumb on it right now, but it's nice to see a little bit of a change in them instead of being the same old, same old.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure what they started out. They were on the ground floor of Dynamite. They started out as this, this kind of cult, kind of legit heel, legit heel kind of were out to recruit. And then they took a turn for some comedy and some fan favor. So I'm not sure what the next repackage would be. So
yeah, I was just going to add that I feel like you can start maybe giving some single pushes or tag teams, where the group is still together, but they're out doing their own thing.
Well, I mean, look, there's fewer of them. At one point, it felt like it was just a growing army. They're down to, obviously -1's not there every week. They're down to 4 guys and 1 girl. So we're at least now at the point to where you could more concentrate having them as tag teams, or it's few enough people that it can be kept track of, so to speak. Right. For a while there, we were starting to have, so it was starting to turn into like NWO 1998. You just couldn't. It was like 20 guys in the ring.
No, absolutely.
All right, we get Penta Oscuro versus Rush. Now, this is the first time we're seeing this in AEW. Certainly, commentary Excalibur in the lead for this. Given the backstory that these two guys have a lot of history, especially in Mexico. Ultimately, though, we're going to get a low blow and a small package is going to be applied by Rush. The main camera misses it. It's off on the side. If you're watching, the camera's focusing on the outside distraction that, again, the referee is looking at, and to which the low blow happens. I don't know. I'm a fan of Penta Oscuro. I like him. I've said that over and over and over. Whenever I first discovered him in Lucha Underground, I've been a fan of his. I always like seeing him. Rush, a little bit newer too. I know he's got Ring of Honor history, et cetera, et cetera. This just kind of, and maybe the finish took it out of me. I guess it gives Rush, it's his AEW Dynamite debut, so he gets a win. Good for there. Certainly leaves another day to fight. But I was kind of in the mix for this one, Jimmy. Yeah,
it was kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I enjoyed the fact that it was not your typical lucha style match. It was physical. It was good, and then the finish, like you said, kind of was a little bit okay. In the opening match where we had a street fight, we had a ref distraction. Why? But then we have what they like to do more often than not, ref distraction again in this match, which happens, I think, far too frequently in this company. I think they need to scale that back a little bit, because when it happens, it's like, here we go again. You know what I mean? And it puts too much attention on the guy you don't want the heat on. Do you know what I mean? It feels like you're putting more heat on the referee than you are on the actual heel in the match, or the heels getting you're supposed to outsmarten the referee, not make him look dumb.
Jimmy, I want to get back to them in a minute, but I want to go to Issa real quick. Issa, Penta Oscuro and Rush, does this connect on any level with you?
Not yet, but it was fun to get a little familiar with Rush as somebody that's not very familiar with him, heard of him, but I haven't seen a lot of his work. I thought he looked great in the ring. I think I'm going to start my own business in which I create masks that don't come off, because we've been doing this Lucha Libre long enough for this mask to still be coming out. Like, somebody needs to come up with a better design. But yeah, I like Rush, and I like Rush with Andrade. I want to see where it goes, but if you have somebody new that people may not be familiar with, putting them in the ring with somebody like Penta is a great showcase.
Yeah, and I should mention, and thank you, Issa, for covering my ass here. And in the small package, he rolls him up, and then he does rip Penta's mask off and takes it, and then Ray Phoenix actually gets in there and throws the suit jacket to cover his face. So that right. That's a thing. And they may mention in commentary in Mexico, if you rip the mask off, it's an automatic DQ. It's not the case here. So there's things there. Again, I'm a Penta fan, so I always want to see more Penta. I fear Penta's always going to have a certain ceiling, because he doesn't cut English promos, and so I think that's always just going to kind of be a ceiling. But I guess if I just accept that ceiling, I'm going to be happy when I see him make the cut and get TV time on a very otherwise packed Dynamite. Jimmy, I want to go back to what you talked about. And this is we can talk about it now, but this is kind of a running theme. You talk about misplaced heat. You never want the heat on the referee. Have you ever had did you ever have an experience that you can talk about now, or you're willing to name names, or maybe change names, of when like the talent or the booker or the producer or whatever was hell bent on a certain finish, and you had to like stand your ground for your referee credibility and say, you're gonna kill me, guys?
I was very, at the beginning, whatever you guys want, I will do. It took someone like, for example, like an Eddie Guerrero to help me come out of that shell a little bit, where I would voice an opinion, but I wouldn't I wouldn't be very forceful and say, hey, I'm not doing that because you're going to make me look bad. I would never do that. I said, listen, guys, is there another way we could possibly do this? Do you think that this maybe misplaces the heat on you instead of putting it on you guys and makes it look like, I'm the bad guy in this thing and the heat goes to me instead? I can't think of a specific case, but I never, ever went and said, hey, guys, there's no way we can do it this way because I'm going to look like an idiot. If you want me to look like an idiot, that's what you want. But I would professionally voice my opinion at times and say, listen, is there another way we can do this?
And I always wondered, and maybe you know the real reason to this, if this is not the real reason. I always wondered, Jimmy, was that maybe is that any part of a motivation? Because for a year, I mean, I can remember in the 90s growing up, and I told you this, I've joked with you off, in person and whatever. I could name every referee, a WWE referee. I mean, I just Earl Hebner, Chad Patton, Jimmy Korderas, Jack Doan, Timmy White, whatever. List goes on and on. I always wondered, did we move away from WWE allowing the announcers to say who the referee is, talk about, even saying referee Korderas is telling them to stop, or Earl Hebner, and then we got to a point to where, and even now, they don't say the referee's name in WWE. And I always wondered, was that because they didn't want to associate the referee as a profile? We don't want to say, oh, that Jimmy Korderas that they keep saying, he looks like an idiot every time he's out there. We just don't even want to give a name to the referee. I always wondered what the purpose was of not giving a name to the very obvious third person in the ring. Even though that third person is supposed to be hidden, that third person still needs to count, still needs to make rulings. Right. I always wondered what the purpose was of all of a sudden WWE World. AEW, of course, they name the referees and are very blunt about that.
Right. That became more apparent after I had left WWE, because I think what happened was they started referencing the referee a little bit too much. Oh, there's a 2 count by referee Patton. There's a 2 count by referee Doan, referee Kyoto, whatever the case may be. Oh, he missed that one. Referee so-and-so missed that one. Just saying the referee instead of naming them all the time. I mean, even today, WWE occasionally mentions the referee. I even noticed that on Monday night, they mentioned the referee once or twice during the Monday night. But the more infrequently you do it, the less spotlight you put on them. And I think that was their thinking. And then, but they went from one extreme to the other. They went from, I think, mentioning the referee's name too much to not mentioning them at all. There is a nice balance where you can still say the referee's name on occasion, but just not overemphasize,
Yeah. I was curious about that. It's always something that's, caught my eye.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think they did it too often where it says, okay, we're not going to do it anymore at all.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Interesting. All right, up next, this is added in there. We got the Acclaimed and the Gun Club up against Leon Ruffin, Fuego del Sol, and Bear Country. To note here is Max Caster's coming out, getting ready to do his rap. The Gun Boys just take his mic from him, and what heat this was. What heat. The crowd was so pissed off about not getting to hear Max Caster and his shoot raps that he does each week. I mean, just huge. The ending is here. Austin's going to tag himself in and steal a pin after Caster had just did a big splash, and so that team wins, but it's on account of Austin Gunn stealing the pin, and then they argue afterwards. Then they start breaking into brawls. Ultimately, though, Billy Gunn is going to side with his sons after a little bit of doubt from this week's stretch to last week. Issa, you said heel turn here, not letting Max Caster rap.
I couldn't move on from the fact that I didn't get my Max Caster rap this week, and I thought it was a genius move. If you want to generate heat, I didn't realize how much we all look forward to that rap until that happened. I was upset. I was doing a watch along on my channel, and everybody in my chat was losing it. The crowd is losing it, and I was like, I guess that's a good way to get heat on someone, and you don't even realize it. This was another case of me not being too invested on the opponents, but at the end, I was waiting for the end and the setup of the breakup of a faction that, in my opinion, shouldn't be broken up yet. I really enjoy, I really enjoyed these guys coming together. So I'm not sure why they're breaking it up so soon. But hey, Billy Gunn, he pulled up Vin Diesel here and said family first. So it is what it is.
Yeah, Jimmy, this could have been, we kind of talked about last week when they started hinting towards this, where why do that? Like, you could have had these two teams that, at odds, remaining as an oddball 4-man team with constant bickering going on, but they still are winning, so they keep going. But I mean, because the mix of Max with his raps, which obviously are over and are an attraction, and oh, by the way, AEW with all the things they have going on, what are the acts they put on every week? They make sure Wardlow gets on every week. They make sure Max Caster gets, like, these things are over. They make sure they get on every week. So you have that. You have the whole Anthony with the scissor me and with Billy Gunn. I mean, like, it's stuff that's just getting over. That's just goofy, and it probably pops the boys, and that's kind of like the magical criteria. So why not just continue that inter-family bickering? Why do such a decisive split this quickly?
You've got me. That's the $64,000 question. Why do it so quickly? And I think that's a problem, not just in AEW. I think it's a problem business wide. Is people are thinking we need to get this done. We need to get it out there. We need to get to the next phase in this story instead of taking their time. Stories need to take their time to develop. The longer it progressed, and then you can do the turn. Especially after tonight, I didn't realize how over, I obviously I enjoyed the raps by Max, like everybody else, but I didn't realize how much everybody would miss it if, it got cut off or wasn't done one night. It was amazing the response that it got. And that could have led to eventually them doing a rap down the road where he does an offhanded comment about the gun club leading into the match, and those guys are like, what did he just say about us? What was that? And that could lead to the breakup. Take your time. Yes, I felt very rushed.
Yeah, well, it's over. It's you don't cut off. You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind. You don't take Max Caster's mic from him during his rap. All right, we got our women's action for the night. We got Marina Shafir and Nyla Rose up against Thunderstorm, Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. First time pairing of these ladies. All right, this one was confusing as all hell on the layout. This was different. I'll say that. So, Thunder and Toni are the baby faces, and they're in the babyface corner, just for clarification. The first 4 minutes of the match, the baby faces quick tagged in and out and double teamed and beat the hell out of Marina Shafir. It was reminiscent of what the heat would look like being applied by the heels, but it was the baby faces beating the shit out of Marina Shafir. I mean, to a point, and this was audible, Thunder is hitting Marina very hard, and then to the point where Marina turns Thunder around and screams and full distance, full audible for the crowd to hear and the camera to hear, don't apologize, and then whacks Thunder Rosa even harder. Oh, wow. I mean, I don't know if it was receipts being exchanged or what was happening here. It got stiff. Eventually, Nyla has a cutoff of hitting one of the faces with the umbrella while the ref's not looking, and then the match kind of takes a more traditional format and look to it. Finally, Thunderstorm hits a double team pump handle slam move on Shafir, and they get the win. Jimmy, the babyface double teams.
Oh my goodness! Again, it just doesn't make sense to me as someone who is a referee as well, and allowing stuff to go on for as long as it did go on too. Like just not enforcing counts. It just, again, maybe it's me because I'm a former referee. I notice these things more than others, but
I'm not a referee, and I'm stopwatching. It was 4 minutes of two baby. At one point, both baby faces did a double suplex on the heel in the ring. I'm like, that's illegal. Why are the faces doing something illegal?
I know. It's just sometimes that makes no sense. But the other thing that bothered me more than anything was this match was in the designated spot for a women's match right before the main event. And that's what bothered, as much as what you said bothered me, that bothered me almost as much. It was almost like I'm saying, okay, we haven't put the women on the show. We'll put them on the regular spot right before the main event. To me, it would have been fine if they'd have put them on, switch places with the 8-person tag that they had before that, the 8-man tag. Maybe put them in that slot. Yeah. And then have the 8-man tag. Right
9:30, Jimmy. You're asking for too much here. They go on at 9:30 every week.
I guess I am. That's probably in the guidelines in the show. It probably lists everything, and then at 9:30 women's match.
Well, Issa, I want to get your reaction to the match, to the time slot point of, and this is the time slot of everything. we'll table that topic for once we wrap up this final match, and we'll talk about the show as a whole in the formatting. But Issa, to this match, I saw you kind of shaking your head. Did you catch the same thing we're catching of like why are the baby faces cheating?
Yes, I had a lot of whys here. I still don't know why Nyla Rose is paired up with Marina Shafir. I still don't know why Marina Shafir gets all the TV time that she gets when we have so many talented women backstage that we haven't seen in weeks. I don't know why the baby faces were acting that way for a whole 4 minutes. And I don't know why, if you're going to put them, I know you don't want to talk about it, but if you're going to put them in the same crappy time spot, why you give them less than 10 minutes? It's very hard for me to get into the match to begin with when I see what time they come out, let alone everything else that went on once they came out. It was a hard match to watch and get into. I did like Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm working together. I did think they work well together.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and to the point, the whole thunderstorm, and there's some marketing there, I guess.
The only thing I was happy about is nobody on commentary said, "Can they coexist?"
Yeah.
I like the umbrellas as well. I thought Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir coming up with the umbrellas for the thunderstorm was a nice touch.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair to that. The tornado. Feel the roar of the tornado, Justin. All right.
Okay.
I'm in my
Justin.
I'm in my bunker. I'm in my tornado shelter. All right. Finally, main event time. We'll stick with it. And they started saying this during the women's match. We're going to stick with this. We've just heard from Tony Khan. We're going to stick with the main event for as long as it goes. So I already knew they were running over on time. We have called the network. We are going to buy ourselves an extra 90 seconds. We'll cash in a few chips. We'll buy ourselves an extra 90 seconds. We have the 10-1 Brody King, who 10-1 respectable record. He did just win the Battle Royal, so there's reason to say okay, he's qualified to challenge the interim AEW champion John Moxley. Good pre-tape promos by both Moxley and Brody and Malachi early in the show. I didn't touch on them earlier. If you want to see them, go check them out. But both good. This match, some moments it picks up. Certainly, Brody's got a big body to be thrown around. Ultimately, though, it's a reverse bulldog sleeper that Moxley applies. Brody doesn't tap out. I don't believe he just passes out. So ref calls it, which is always a Jimmy as a ref. That's the ref kind of saving you a little bit. I guess thoughts on the match, and then we'll talk about placement of this whole card. Issa, Moxley winning. It was what it was, right?
It was predictable. That's what it was.
Right.
It's his first match defending this interim title. And that's why they gave Brody King the spot. But I'm glad to see somebody different getting the spot. I guess that's a positive here. The match moved a lot slower than what I anticipated. I love some big meaty men slapping meat, but they were slapping meat in slow motion here. I don't know what was going on, but it felt a very slow-paced match, which, again, is 1 minute till 9, and there's no big momentum that you're thinking, it's leading up to the finish here. It never kind of like picked up for me. But I will say, with Moxley having his first reign during the pandemic, I really did feel happy to see him come out in front of a full crowd, get to lift the belt, because if you remember, Moxley didn't get to do any of that. He carried, him and Omega carried throughout the pandemic, but they couldn't, Omega did get a couple of shows, with fans in, but Moxley didn't get that. So it was exciting to see him. But the match, I would have swapped it. I would have honestly put Wardlow and the confetti at the end of the match if I was booking this show.
Yeah, Jimmy, to Issa's point, obviously they're not going to undersell the main event, but they're trying to make a big deal of this main event and how crazy it's going to be and how brutal. And there was far more rest holds than I anticipated in this match.
Yeah, it did get physical at times, but I think the crowd told you everything you needed to know in this match. And you talk about, to Issa's point, ending the show with that Wardlow match. Yes, I know it was the first match, so the crowd is pumped and ready and waiting. But at the same time, I think they would have been just as reactive in the last segment with that match if it was Wardlow and Squirt at the end of the night, because I wasn't getting that same response or feeling that same response or hearing that same response on television for that last match, which you should have been hearing, I think, because that is your interim AEW champion in that main event slot. And yes, he should be in your main event slot, but at the same time, you have to get people invested in what you're doing. And I think they try too hard to make it a look snug, as opposed to just having a good old brawl.
Yeah, I mean the match, it was what it was. It was again back to Issa. It was slower than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I guess we have to Here's where I think we have to debate of what rule are we going by now? Because I agree, the ending, the money shot ending, is the confetti and Wardlow, and ending on a title match that was unpredictable. For as hot as Wardlow has been, it was not a foregone conclusion, as we talked about earlier in the show in this episode, that Wardlow's going to win it. There was plenty of cases that American Top Team could have weaseled their way out of it. Mm-hmm. So that would have been, and then this, like Issa said, it's predictable. We know we just need to set up some title defenses for Moxley. He's got to knock some down. But AEW's philosophy seems like they are, and the ratings show it seems like it is a lot like what WWE's is with Raw, which is especially front load the top of the show. People are tuning the top of the show, and they might not be hanging on by the end of it. Obviously, Raw, they're definitely not. It's 3 hours, but AEW's only 2. So it's almost like it's Saturday night's main event philosophy. It's almost like if you get put in the very first segment match, that's the highest mark you could be given in some ways.
Yeah, but it felt like because of the pacing of the match, it just didn't feel right, because the show should start, it should end hot then, right? You should have given me a more fast-paced, action-full match, which isn't what we got here. And thinking, and even to that point, it's like you have the crowd half asleep for the second half of the show, and now they gotta watch Rampage. So I can't wait to see what kind of reaction we're gonna get from this crowd on Rampage, because if they're going into Rampage after that, they're gonna be dead.
Yeah. And I get the ending, the referee stoppage being more of a shoot style ending to a match, but at the same time, in the world of pro wrestling / sports entertainment, I know how some of you hate that term, sports entertainment. It just doesn't translate well.
Yeah, a lot to be debated, as we have done and will continue to do here. But that was your AEW Dynamite. Hitting a few comments here. Film Nation Wrestling Fan, Issa, had a good time with your live stream. Love enjoying your live streams. Yeah, Issa, give a plug. How can people do the watch-alongs with you?
They can find me on YouTube, NYC Demon Diva, or Twitch as well. I go live on both and do watch-alongs for Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. Very good. Chris on Facebook, great show, guys. And Issa, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
I don't know if this is our last super chat or not, but Tornado throwing his $1 bills on the stage. Issa, that Tornado threat level is at a 6.9.
It was a 6.9 when Wardlow won, but by the end of the show, it was at a 2.
Sure.
Issa and her mojo.
I'm not sure. Is Tornado in Canada? Because if he is, then he's throwing those toonies around.
Yeah, the loonies and toonies.
Yes.
Loonies and toonies. You haven't lived until you've been to well, never mind.
Kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe.
Yeah, never mind. Derek says, I can't wait for Claudio and Hager next week at Fyter Fest. Yeah, they had a little. Oh my God, they had a backstage segment, and I laughed so hard because Claudio said, "You might be an undefeated MMA fighter, but I'm undefeated on AEW." I'm like, bro, you've had one match. Like, I don't know that that's the right flex to use here. And then Hager fired back, said, "You've never been a world champion ROH. You're never a world champion in WWE. You're not going to make it here." I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh, yeah.
All right. Shots fired.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where they had to preface it. Is that the right term? Yeah, by saying that they signed an agreement not to get physical during this face-to-face backstage.
How civil of them.
Yes.
Jimmy, give us the plugs. Where can people
find
plugs?
They could find me here at on Wednesday nights and on Monday nights talking about AEW's Dynamite and also Monday Night Raw with the good folks at Wrestling Inc. You can find me on my social media pages on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, doing my daily reffing rants, which is just a little critique I find that I like to have a little fun with. It's only a minute long, so I have a little fun with those during the weekday. And no, Tony Chimmel, I don't do it on weekends. I'm sorry. And and I just have fun watching wrestling. That's it.
Issa, plug it up.
Yeah, I already did the YouTube plug. If you want to see me cover wrestling in Español, Lucha Libre Online, I'm back over there doing some interviews, which has been a lot of fun. And follow me on social media.
That's awesome. She's bilingual and she's using the skill. I love it. I'm at Justin LaBar again. Big thanks to everybody. Of course, as always, I always encourage. Tweet me, tell me where you're watching, how you're enjoying this podcast, what we're doing for you. That's always a thrill. If it's a good one and I have it saved, I'll try to give it some love here. We'll end on this super chat from Allison. She says both companies are going to be suffering when football comes around in the ratings. Well, fall football is always a challenge, so we'll see. Allison.
Always happens. Yeah.
Yep.
It always happens. So we'll see what's going to happen here in the fall time. But for now, we're enjoying the summertime. That's it for tonight. We'll be back on Friday. The crew will be doing something after SmackDown. Is there anything this weekend? There's no pay-per-view this weekend, I don't believe.
No, thank God.
Premium live event.
Live event. No premium live event. So I guess Friday there'll be the crew. Issa, you on Fridays this week?
I am. Me, Glenn, and Alfred.
All right, so well, there's a trio to party with, and then we'll come back on Monday. Myself, Jack, and Jimmy for Triple J for Monday Night Raw. Ain't we great? All right, that's gonna do it. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Be safe. Talk to you when we.